Fire that thing up. Let's hit the go button on this thing. I think this will work. This might actually work better doing it like this. It's just so slow right here. But, you know, I guess we need to kind of build up the crescendo.
That's good. And plus, it's doing exactly what you said. Just give us a little downtime.
Sean's got to turn his
Give us a little downtime.
Compressor off. What else we got that's going to go off? Have we got the scanner turned down? I got that. You know where the button's at?
Testing 1 2. Test 1 2.
Go ahead.
Is it okay if I say good evening before we hit the?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good evening. 357 Productions is proud to present the Masonian, a monthly podcast for Freemasons with a focus on the grand jurisdiction of North Carolina. While not an official function of the Grand Lodge of North Carolina, we operate with the full endorsement of Grand Master Douglas Cottle. The opinions expressed on this show are those of the participants and in no way reflect the opinions of the Grand Lodge of North Carolina, its members, or any appendant bodies. 357 Productions does not own any of the music used in this show, but we sure do like it.
Dang right we do. Music was a little loud, but I think we'll be able to work with that. We're going to work with it this podcast. We'll work on it in the future. We'll work on it and see if we can either need you just a wee bit louder or music a little bit softer. And I love Metallica, so I think you're going to have to talk louder.
It rocks, man. I feel like we're at a concert. This is great.
Right. Let's do it.
All right. My name is Worshipful Brother Riley Beeman. Across from me is my co-host, Worshipful Brother Ben Wallace. How you doing this evening, Ben?
Could not be better, my friend.
Awesome. Working the big board in the back is our technical engineer, Brother Sean Brown. Sean, how's the technical end going?
All good in the hood, man.
Awesome.
It's good stuff. All right, well, here we are. Episode 1, Volume 1 of the Masonian podcast. So our goal here with this is, you know, it's funny, Riley. People process information differently these days, don't they? As you know, a newer generation is coming along. I can remember the first computer that I ever saw. I'm a lot older than you are. I'm 47. How old are you?
I'm 35.
Riley's 35. But I remember the first computer that I ever saw. And, you know, they used to have like that DOS base. I don't know what all that stuff was. But, you know, I remember when Windows came along and, man, we got on the internet. You know, we had process information overload and stuff, right? And now, I mean, it's just the way everybody processes any information. It's the way we exchange information, isn't it?
It's amazing. It's, you know, cell phones, internet. It's just a whole new world.
Man, who would believe that you could walk around with a cell phone and just, you know, any doggone question that you've got, just, you know, ask Siri and up it pops. Our grandparents would have thought that we were some kind of spacemen or something, wouldn't they?
You're right. I'm sitting here thinking about Freemasonry years ago, even when you were just saying my grandfather. I mean, who would have thought now? Here we are sitting here in 2015 and we're doing a podcast. I mean, it's crazy. People can tap into their phones, look online. It's wild.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff, man. And, you know, we just feel like we need to do something different as far as the way that we transmit information in the lodge. We have newsletters. Our lodge, Riley and I and Sean are all in Blackmer Lodge in Mount Gilead. Actually, we're all in several lodges, but our home lodge is Blackmer. It's where we were all raised. And we have a newsletter. In the newsletter, you know, we get it printed and we mail it out, and people read it. And I'm always getting told by, you know, the older folks and stuff, they sure do like that, and that's how they keep up with information. But it's not how younger folks keep up with information, is it?
No, our Facebook page for Blackmer is booming. It's ridiculous. Yeah. We've got almost 1,000 likes.
Right, and we're just one little lodge in Mount Gilead, North Carolina. I mean, for those of y'all who don't know Mount Gilead, you know, it's a small little town. It's a nice town, but I mean, we're small time America, aren't we?
Very rural.
But so the younger folks, they're not going to take time to read a newsletter, or maybe they will, but there's certainly better ways to get them information. So we've been thinking about that for a while, been talking about it, and we kept waiting on somebody to come up with some kind of a podcast or something that we could do on a website, and just never seemed to come along. So we kind of came up with 357 Productions, which is basically me and Sean, in a way for us to waste all of our money. We've cobbled together. Sean back there on the tech side and I have managed to use some paper clips and bubble gum and an old transistor radio, and we've cobbled together enough stuff to start this podcast. So we're going to at least make an attempt to reach people electronically. Hey, if it works, it does. If it doesn't, then at least we tried. But I just think it's time. I think our generation is ready for it.
No, I completely agree. Just another form to reach those Masons in North Carolina.
Absolutely. All right, so what I've got written down here that I wanted to start with, our focus is going to be on North Carolina Masons. So we'll talk about Masonry in general. We'll have people on the show from time to time. Today it's just us. But from time to time we'll have people that we have come in as national level speakers. So we're probably going to have people from other states. We'll talk about anything that might interest Freemasons. But our main focus is going to be the Masons of North Carolina, and trying to share with them not only Masonic information in general and have Masonic talk, but let them know stuff that's going on in their state. Because just like Blackmer has the newsletter, we've got the North Carolina Mason, and it's kind of the same deal. A lot of people really rely on that thing. We're going to talk about it here in a little bit. I love the North Carolina Mason. Rick does a great job with that thing. But it's pretty much the only way that we have to transfer information, other than, like when the Grand Master does his district meetings, or when you have annual communication. While a lot of people go to those things, percentage-wise, the number of Masons that get to see that information given to them live at district meetings or annual communication is small. So, we're going to try this. So, there's a couple different ways that you're going to be able to watch this. We're really in our infancy stage, so we're going to be changing as we go along. But you certainly can watch the podcast. You can go to our Facebook page. You're going to be able to watch the podcast by clicking on something that'll take you over to a YouTube channel. If you want to do just the MP3 version of that, if you want to be able to download that, throw it on a flash drive, and listen to it while you're going down the road, then you'll be able to do that. Some of the stuff that we do here is going to somewhat overlap with the North Carolina Grand Lodge Education Committee. So in the way that we really got into this was we started off just doing interviews. Had a conversation with Speed Hallman on the way back from Philadelphia one time, and we were talking about doing interviews and all the guys that we like to interview, and Speed was really into this. So Sean and I, that's when we really started cobbling together a little bit of stuff. And so we go around to different places, and Speed is our interviewer, right? He, for those of y'all that don't know Worshipful Brother Speed Hallman, he worked for a while in the University of North Carolina School of Journalism. And he, I don't know exactly what he did for them, but he knows journalism pretty well. So when Speed interviews folks, he's a professional. I mean, he knows how to ask a question. He knows how to ask a follow-up question. He knows what to pursue and what not to pursue, so he's really good at it. So Speed is like our interviewer, and we started off just doing interviews. As we get more into this, though, then we're going to do more interviews, and sometimes Speed will do them, and if Speed's not available, then I'll try to cobble together something, or we may have people call in, we may have people Skype in on this show, and if so, we'll deal with them.
How's everybody been as far as being receptive when you guys are doing the interviews? I mean, you're going around all these places, and I've seen you around a lot at the different venues and events. I mean, how's it going?
Yeah, everybody seems to everybody is very open. I think everybody knows that in addition to being able to share information, it almost is a historical record. What we're trying to do first is get folks that, are seasoned veterans. And so we certainly want to hear what they have to say, and they've got a world of experience, and they've been very receptive both as a historical record, and sharing stuff for us. So, man, it's been good so far. We haven't got a lot of them under our belt, but we're coming along with it. Sean, what happened? We go to our lead out song. Okay, we're struggling on the tech side, but we're going to get it. Sean shaking his head back there. It's all good, brother.
It's just awesome music. I mean, we need to play it all the time.
We play it all the time. You can't get enough Metallica, can you?
Never.
All right, so what I did is I wrote down a list of things that, this you said in the as we led in that this isn't an official function of the Grand Lodge. We're sanctioned by the Grand Lodge, but we're not officially part of the Grand Lodge. So that means we're going to get all the credit or all the blame, depending on how this thing goes, I guess. But as
you say that, it's awesome that everybody signed off on it. I mean,
dude, I love our Grand Line. They are so progressive and proactive, and they have supported us in every harebrained scheme that I've come up with so far. Full support, man. They're good dudes, aren't they?
No, I completely agree, and just being CC'd on those emails with you that you've been sending out, just kind of telling everybody everything's going on. I was just really shocked at the responses you were getting. I mean, everybody's all for it, seems like. So.
Yeah, those dudes in the Grand Line too. I think they really get it that as we change over this new generation, that we've got to look at doing business differently. Freemasonry is ancient. And it's got ancient teachings, and it's got ancient ways, and it's old and it's archaic, and that's what makes it special, right? That's why when you're doing degree work or you're in the lodge, you just have that feeling that you're part of something bigger than you, and something that's old.
No, absolutely bigger, something bigger.
But at the same time, we know that the millennials certainly look at things differently. So in one way, we need to stay the same. Ritualistically, we need to stay the same. But as far as our outreach and our marketing, we don't market for people. But as far as the way that we're seen in the public, we really need to maybe do that differently.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how the older Masons in North Carolina perceive the podcast. I mean, just new technology. It's going to be really neat to see how they take it.
Yeah. Hopefully good.
I hope so.
I think that I don't think anybody will dislike the way that we're doing it, as long as I just don't know how many of them are going to watch or participate. Yeah, may be surprised. I hope so.
I hope so too. I really do.
So anyway, please don't anybody send us an email saying that I forgot your event. But I wrote down a bunch of events that I just knew that were coming up, stuff that I had on the calendar and stuff I'd seen flyers for. And I thought we'd just run down through them kind of chronologically. Let's just talk about some of the stuff that's coming up. We'll just talk it out as we go along. The first thing that I know that's going to happen is the Allegory and Symbolism lectures are starting. Sean, can we get a Allegory and Symbolism lecture flyer put up on our Facebook page if it isn't already?
Absolutely.
All right, so we'll get that put on there for you. There's 4 of these things. And the way that they came about, I guess everybody knows that we have something called the boot camps in the fall, right? Did you go to a boot camp?
I've not been to a boot camp yet.
But you went to Wilkerson College.
I did.
All right, so the boot camps are the Wilkerson College, and we'll talk about that here in just a minute. But that's for deacons, right? And nobody can really go to Wilkerson College but deacons. They set it up that way. That's the way they want it. But they realized that they needed a little something for guys that maybe couldn't go when they were a deacon, or guys that skipped a deacon's chair, or they got plopped back in a warden's chair. So they wanted to offer something for wardens. So they came up with this idea for a warden's boot camp. And Kevin Combs runs these things, and they're in the fall. And he has 4 of them across the state. And essentially what they are is they're like a cut-down version of Wilkerson College. The college is long and expansive, and the boot camp is like 4 hours. It starts at 10, Go for a couple of hours. They have some lunch on your own, and then you're done by 2.
Well, since I've never been, I mean, how's attendance on that? I mean, you guys have a lot of people attend? Or?
Man, it's so quirky. Sometimes you have a house that's just packed, and sometimes you get almost nobody. I went down to Dalton Mayo's lodge. Can't remember the name of that little place. We had like 6 people, so we had almost nobody. And then you'll go someplace. The next place that I went this past year was Asheville, and we had a room full. So, I don't know if it's maybe it's just weather, or maybe it's just dates, or maybe it's how it's promoted. I don't know what the difference is, but sometimes you have a bunch and sometimes not so many. So anyway, but they have 4 of these things across the state, and they all have some in the east and some in the middle part and some in the west, and so that everybody can kind of come to them if they want. So this allegory and symbolism deal, this started out of a program that we started at Sophia Lodge. We'll talk about Sophia some more in a little bit too, but that's the new traditional observance lodge, and kind of focuses more on allegory and symbolism and stuff like that, right? So we developed a program for that about allegory and symbolism, and it's explaining what the degrees mean, because when we take the degrees, so oftentimes, just like I was talking before, it's old, and that you're doing something really important. You know that there are some valuable lessons there, and they're just below the surface, but they're never quite explained, are they?
No, and there's so much that goes on in each degree. I mean,
yeah.
I remember going through mine, and it was just sensory overload.
Yeah.
And then after it was over with, of course, I'm sure as every brother who goes through it, at the end, you're trying to process it. What just happened? So I get your point. I definitely see what you're saying.
So what happens, man? You ask your coach, right? Hey, man, what did all that really mean? But the problem is, a lot of times your coach doesn't know, and it's not really his fault. But he just doesn't really know the deeper meaning of what it means. What you're told in the lectures, but you never really get that in-depth explanation. And then you go ask the master. You ask some of the old past masters, and it comes to find out that in a lot of lodges we just kind of lost our knowers. I don't know where they went, but it's the system was set up so that you would go through the degree, and then somebody would explain to you at a deeper level than the lecture does what the degrees mean, right? But those guys are hard to find. They just kind of got away from us somehow.
You're right. I mean, that's an important foundation. I mean, it's the foundation of what we stand for.
Right. So at Sophia, we kind of realized that this was a problem, and so we developed a program to explain exactly what each degree means in depth. So we were through some hard work and some audacity and some good luck. We were able, when our new grandmaster came in, I asked him if I could take this show on the road, and he graciously said that we could. So I based it on the boot camp model. We're going to do 4 of them across the state, and the first one is going to be March the 7th, which is, as we tape this thing, it's going to be this coming Saturday. I'm not sure when we're actually going to get this tape put up, but so March the 7th is the first one. That's at Jacksonville at Semper Fidelis Lodge. The next one's going to be March the 14th. That's at Beulah in Burlington. The next one's going to be March 28th in Charlotte at Excelsior, and then the last one is going to be at Mount Hermon, and that is the first weekend in April. I don't have that date. We'll get to it in just a minute. So, what we'll do is we'll, just like the boot camps, we're going to start at 10 in the morning. We'll go for a couple of hours. We'll take a lunch break. We'll come back. We'll do a couple more hours. The whole thing should last 3.5, 4 hours. Depends on how many questions we get. If you get a lot of questions, it'll go a little longer than that. If we get to smoke through it pretty quick, I have done them in 3 hours before. So
So will each of these days be a different topic, or is this the same topic all day, your dates?
Yeah, no, it's the same. It's the same 4-hour lecture, and I originally wrote them so that you could break them out, and you could do. There's an overview, first degree, second degree, third degree. So occasionally I'll go do just the one on the first degree. Like if we take these to a Blue Lodge, it's too long to spend 4 hours in a night doing it. So a lot of times I'll just go do the entered apprentice degree, or just do the fellow craft degree. But when I do them like this, run them all together, and they generally take an hour apiece. But if you run them all concurrently, then it'll go a lot faster than that, because there's some redundancy in there that you don't have to re-explain all over again. So anyway, those are coming across the state, mostly in March, and that last one in April up at Mount Hermon. There's flyers for this thing everywhere. Sean's going to put one up on our Facebook page, he said. They're on the Grand Lodge Facebook page, I know. We've sent them direct email to all the lodge secretaries in the state, so you should be able to see these flyers around. Really hope everybody can come to it, though.
Absolutely. Guys, once again, the Facebook page that Brother Ben is saying that Sean's going to put it up on is 357 Productions. 357 Productions. So just like Brother Ben saying, just check the website, and he's going to post his stuff on there and just have you a little reminder of when the event's going to be.
You going to come to one of them?
I would. I'm going to plan to. I really do want to see it. I know just listening to Brother Kevin Combs talk about it, he puts a lot of work into these things along with you, so I'm all about it, so I definitely want to come to one of them.
Good deal, man. I hope you make it. The next thing that I know of that we've got going on is Wilkerson College. So we've already had session 1 of Wilkerson College. For the people that don't know, again, it's a school for deacons, and the college is all about teaching young line officers to be the master someday. And you and I both attended Wilkerson College, and we're both past masters, and I cannot imagine having been the master of the lodge without having been to Wilkerson College. How do people do it?
I completely agree. I'll never forget graduating from Wilkerson College and walking out with the briefcase that you guys provided for us once you graduate, and it just being slammed full of information. And it was actually a year or two, or it was a couple years later, and I was able to go into the East. And I remember I pulled that briefcase out and pulled all that paperwork out, and automatically it's like everything applied to what I needed to do right then. Yeah. It laid out the whole year, and it was amazing.
Yeah, at Blackmer and at every lodge across the state, you've got tons of guys that have been master that didn't go to Wilkerson College, and some of them were great, and some of them were not, and a lot of them were in the middle. But a lot of that was just luck of the draw. It certainly gives you a jumping off point. It prepares you for all the questions that are going to come up that usually get bunted over to the lodge secretary, which that's good. A lot of times the secretaries, they're kind of our maintainers, right? They're the guys that, they're our continuity guys. But as the master of the lodge, you're supposed to know things like, the rules about fundraising and the code. I was absolutely shocked in my year as master at the times that brothers told me, oh, the code says you can't do that, or the code says you've got to do this or that, and they were wrong. And I don't, part of it was stuff that were older rules. Part of it was stuff that was just tradition in our lodge. Part of it, I don't know where part of it came from, but by having that 3 hours of code that we got in Wilkerson College, I knew some of it wasn't right, or at least if nothing else, I knew where to go look. So I'll tell you the best advice I got going into the East. Bill Bruton told me, William Baldwin Bruton told me,
infamous,
the one and only, that I should read the whole code before I went to the East. And I thought, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I'm not reading that whole code book. But he badgered me into doing it. What I found out was like the first half of I don't know if you know this, first half of the code has nothing to do with Blue Lodge. It's all Grand Lodge stuff. It's duties of Grand Lodge officers and how they do their installation, and a bunch of stuff that doesn't apply to us guys. So you automatically get to throw about half the book out, or at least it doesn't apply when you go to read it. And so I breezed through all of it. And Bill told me, he said, you won't remember all that stuff but you'll remember that you read it. If something comes up, you'll remember that it was in the code.
Where to find it.
And you'll know to go look it up. And, man, that was the best advice, because all those guys that told me, between Wilkerson College and me breezing through it on Bill's advice, when somebody'd say, oh, you can't do that, and I'd go look it up. A lot of times you could do that. So, yeah, it's really good stuff. So you learn that in Wilkerson College. And they have sections on fundraising and ideas for membership and retention, and just tons and tons and tons of stuff getting ready for guys to go to these. Man, I don't know how folks get by that don't go, though. And the heck of it is that we only take 36 students, right?
By application.
By application, yeah, you got to apply. So applications usually start October 1st, and they fill the class up by the first of the year or so. And then the first session was like in February this year. Anyway, they only take 36 students. It's just as big a class as they can handle. So we've had the first session already, and it was at Whitestone. Went great. Everybody showed up pretty much when they were supposed to, and every now and the students were really good. We got a great class this year, man. We got some really cool guys. Curry Pendleton's in that class, Curry, and Mark Vickers, Mark.
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely,
and Kevin Otis. From the children's home. Kevin's in that class. He's a deacon, I guess, in Oxford.
I was lucky.
There in Oxford.
I got to go through with our Grand Master, so that was a lot of fun. So,
did you teach him a lot of stuff?
No, but he taught me a lot of stuff.
So anyway, really good class this year, and they've already had their first session. So the second session is coming. The first session was at Whitestone. The second session is coming up on the 20th and 21st of this month, and that's going to be at the children's home. So the way it works, for those that don't know, they'll have one session at Whitestone, one session at the children's home, and then the last session is usually in Raleigh at the Grand Lodge. And that way those masters can get to see all of those things, because just like I can't imagine being a master, Riley, without having gone to Wilkerson College, how can you be the master of your lodge and you hadn't seen the children's home or Whitestone or the Grand Lodge?
I agree. My personal belief is, if you're going to be a Mason in North Carolina, you need to know what these three things are and go and experience them. You talking about the orphanage? That was the best time I think I've ever had, was the weekend at Wilkerson College. We went to the orphanage. We got to hang out with the kids. We got to see their daily routine and everything. I mean, it was a lot of fun. I mean, it made you gain a whole new respect and passion for Freemasonry, seeing what all your hard work's going towards. So, I mean, I'm with you. Not just talking about a master, but, man, I think if you're going to be in Masonry, you got to do it. I mean, you got to see all these things.
That place will steal your heart too, won't it?
It will. I just want to go every year. I've tried to talk to my wife. I've talked to you about trying to make an annual trip up there where we just go and visit around Christmas time. I think it's great.
They got that homecoming, and I believe that's in October every year. And they used to have the homecoming. This was kind of before my time, and then about time I was coming along, they had quit. I don't know why, but they used to have a big parade. Now they've started it back. They've had it started back for 2 or 3 years. And the shrine really turns out, and they have this great parade, and it's fall, and those big oak trees up there, and the kids are running around. They have some kind of music, but the best thing that they have up there is they have this barbecue cooking contest, and all these lodges come and they cook barbecue. And you buy a plate for some ridiculously small amount of money, like, I don't know, $7 or $8, and with that you get a tea and a plate and a fork, and like all the French fries and hush puppies and stuff you can eat. But then you just walk around to all these barbecues. It's like the pig jig, kind of, sort of, and you just walk around with your plate, and you walk up to one of these barbecue places, and you go, "There's a barbecue," and they load you up, man. And so,
and for all of our listeners who are not sure about this, Brother Wallace here is a master chef and food connoisseur in his own right. So
I'm a master eater. That's what I am. But so anyway, yeah, children's home's great. So everybody ought to see that. So that's Wilkerson College is going to be there. If you aren't a student of the college, you can't go. So I don't really know why I'm telling you, other than I just think people ought to generally know what's going on with the college. It's really important. It's really the darling of the Grand Lodge. I think they're excited about this program. I instruct there, and I run session 1, and I absolutely love this program. A lot of other states are looking at it, And they really like what we've done. I like what we've done, so it's good stuff. So if you guys out there have deacons, you'll have to wait till next year now. But if your lodge is not sending your deacons, you need to correct that. You need to look at sending your deacons next year, because not only does it make it better for them, the guys that are going to be your master, but it makes it better for your lodge, right?
No, you're right. And guys, if you have more questions about, Wilkerson College, how to get guys in your lodge into it, one of the emails, definitely 357 Productions on Facebook, and the email address is 357productionsteam@gmail.com. You just shoot these guys an email, whoever gets it, Brother Ben, Brother Sean, myself. I mean, we'll try to give you as much information we can about joining and getting into it.
Yep. Good stuff. Good stuff, Wilkerson College. The next thing I've got on the calendar is Sophia Lodge meets on the 25th of March. We're supposed to, Sophia Lodge, I know this is just one lodge in the state, but I want to talk about it a little bit.
Oh, it's pretty special.
It's pretty special. So, Sophia Lodge is a traditional observance lodge, and it's the first one in the state. And we picked up our charter late last year. The way, if you start a new lodge, you have to work under a dispensation for a year. There's some requirements you got to do during that year. You got to confer all the degrees with your officers, and you have to have bylaws, and there's a bunch of rules to it. But we started this lodge, and a traditional observance lodge doesn't have a specific criteria that it falls under. There's no set of rules that you have to exactly follow to be a traditional observance lodge. But in general, it's a way of looking at Masonry with more reverence and respect and keep into the old ways. So we do things at Sophia like use incense and candles. We'll barely have the house lights on. We use mostly candlelight and classical music, and we wear tuxedos. The officers wear a white tie tux, and the members wear a black tie tux or a dark suit. If you come visit, you're expected to wear a suit. We have a dress code. Dark suit. If you have a tux, you can wear it. If not, you can just wear a dark suit. We've never turned anybody away. But everybody knows, our practices. So far, everybody's been very respectful to try and do things that, the things that we ask as far as dress code. And it is an almost spiritual experience to sit in a traditional observance lodge, isn't it?
It is. Guys listening and watching, if you could just think about how you could imagine it being numerous years ago when it was so meaningful when you walked in. And not to say that Freemasonry in North Carolina is not meaningful now.
Right.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if you could picture older gentlemen walking in, classy, white ties, just dressed to the nines, and they're going in, it just means something.
Right.
It has that deep meaning, that deep appeal. And I'll be honest with you, I was really surprised. I thought that the visitors that we would start having, they may come not dressed appropriately, or that we may hear feedback from people just saying, hey, this dressing up, this is crazy. This is nonsense. But I've been really surprised that all the people have been all for it. I mean, it's great.
Yeah. Everybody that I have talked to that came there was just absolutely all about it. They just ate it with a spoon.
And every meeting, it seems the numbers getting larger and larger. More visitors, more people petitioning, wanting to join.
Right. And the other thing that traditional observance lodges generally have is a high due structure. And the only reason I'm going to talk about this is because the Grand Master talks about it in his district meetings. And I'm going to have his back here a little bit.
Absolutely.
The Grand Master says that we need to pay our bills. So the code says that you have to have a balanced budget, right? Code says that you have to take in enough money to run your lodge. Well, we all know that, but so many lodges are just absolutely struggling. And my personal opinion this is Ben's opinion, but when a lodge gets in a situation where they don't have any extra money, they have no disposable income, then they can't do things like spruce it up and make it look nice. You don't have to look like the doggone Ritz-Carlton, but, if your yard's not mowed, and your bushes are tattered,
you're in a dilemma,
and your paint's peeling, who wants to come to that? So, and then they don't have any money to buy, they don't have any money to buy nice aprons. And so their aprons are like all yellow and ratted up. And part of that's just that, that folks don't take care of their stuff because they don't respect it. We always do what's important to us, right? And so it's almost like with a lot of the lodges that it's just become not important to them anymore. And so when your facilities look bad and you don't have any artwork on the walls, and everything's tattered and old, and you're just not keeping up even with your routine maintenance, and then you have to argue every time you get ready to buy light bulbs over whether you're going to buy 75 or 100 watt light bulbs. You get away from what masonry is supposed to be about. So the Grandmaster's not telling everybody how much they need to charge. We understand that we have seasoned guys that people that are living on a fixed income that don't have a lot of extra money to throw the lodge, but if masonry doesn't mean enough to you that we can now pay another $20 or $25 or $30 or $50 of dues a year, you're talking about pennies a day. Then
is Freemasonry to you not worth $1 a day?
Absolutely. So
out of all the things that we spend in a day,
absolutely,
whether it be a meal. For some members, it may be a pack of cigarettes. It may be a soft drink. It may be anything. Can we not just save $1 a day?
$1 a day is a cup of coffee.
You're exactly right.
And so our due structure at Sophia is $365 a year. That's where me and Riley come up with this $1 a day thing. Now, I'm not suggesting that every lodge should go to $365 a year. We had specific reasons that we did that. We wanted people to have buy-in, and we wanted to have enough money that we didn't have to fight over money
and do good things. So, but I certainly think that lodges should charge more than the absolute bare minimum, because we're worth more than the bare minimum. Masonry is special and it's important. We ought to be able to have enough doggone money to have nice things and make it a special experience, right? Right, and with that dues fee, we're bringing in guest lecturers from all over the world.
Yep.
We're having meals, which at Sophia we call harmonies. Not every meeting, but every so many meetings we do have one where it's catered and we don't have to pay for anything. We just show up; it's taken care of. So that's again, you want to provide enough for the lodge to where we're able to do these good things to better Freemasonry in North Carolina, and $1 a day. And again, guys listening and watching, we're not saying again that your lodge needs to go up to these dues. We're not an elitist lodge either. We're just saying this is the way we thought. This is what we thought needed to happen, or Brother Ben and the guys who helped put Sophia together to be in the green and be able to do good things.
Absolutely. So Sophia is a wonderful, wonderful Masonic experience. It'll be one of the more profound things that you will ever do in Masonry. If you get a chance to visit, please come see us. We're in Salisbury. We meet the fourth Wednesday of even months, except for this month because we got snowed out last time. So we canceled the meeting and we pushed it back to March. So that meeting is going to be on the 25th of March at 7 p.m. in Salisbury. Before we leave this subject, I want to mention that we have a second TO lodge that is under dispensation now. Veritas meets at Mount Hermon in Asheville, and we call them our sister lodge. They came along about a year after us, so they're under dispensation now. Very similar. They're both similar and different, but
how's everything? I know you're tied in pretty tight with that and the movement that's going on in Asheville. How's it going? Is it? You visited up there.
Yeah, we went to their dispensation ceremony. I know a bunch of those guys. I understand it's going great. They're excited about it up there, and I'm excited for them.
I hope they have the same look we have.
I think they will. This whole TO experience just kind of sells itself. It's like the Children's Home or Whitestone in that it just sells itself. So anyway, they meet on odd months on the fourth Wednesday, so they meet exactly opposite of us. So this time, on the 25th of March, we meet the same night they do, but that's not normally the way it is. Fourth Wednesday is always a traditional observance meeting, evens down here, odds up there. If you live in the western part of the state, go see them if you don't get an opportunity to come see us.
I did have a question I wanted to ask. I just never have gotten around to asking you. I know when you were researching for developing the lodge, you went out to Colorado and with Cliff Porter and Robert Hurd, and you got to see their lodge. Are we doing kind of the same thing they're doing? I mean, in comparison to the two, I mean, how are we doing?
Yeah, they're very similar. Most of the traditional observance lodges run the same kind of model. When I went to Colorado, I had read a lot about the traditional observance model and Enlightenment 198, which is in Colorado Springs specifically. But I just was not prepared for what that ceremony was like. So they and we do everything exactly by the OSW. It's no different than your lodge opening, but it is absolutely, completely different. It's the same, but it's different. All the words are right, all the red work's right, but it is a different kind of experience.
I know just talking, with you, with just speaking with Cliff and Rob, I mean, I'd love to go out and check it out. I mean, I know you come back and told me it was an amazing experience. I mean, are we doing as good as what you saw there?
Oh, we're doing better than them.
Rob and Cliff, I hope you're not listening.
No. Actually, our ritual looks very similar to theirs. I mean, it's almost exactly the same. Their room is a lot different. They meet in it must be their Scottish Rite room, because it's got like this big Egyptian motif and stuff, and it's physically bigger than our room. But as far as the ritual, there's a little bit of difference between our ritual and theirs. But as far as the opening, very similar. They use candles, they use music, they use incense, everything very similar to ours. And I think you'll probably find that for the most part everywhere you go with a TO lodge. So yeah, it's good stuff. Enlightenment. So Enlightenment was, they were one of the first traditional observance lodges that really pushed the idea. So a lot of the observance lodges kind of keep their heads down, and I'm going to tell you why. It's not that they're not proud of what they do, but a lot of Grand Lodges are not as excited about traditional observances as our Grand Lodge is. I cannot say enough good things about the support that we got out of the Grand Line when we started putting this together. The Grand Master was an integral part of it. He was one of the first 4 guys on the steering committee, so that gave us a heavy. But even without him, I feel like the other guys would. I mean, they're just so forward thinking and progressive. They were all for something new.
No, you're right. I got kind of a question also. I mean, what do you think? How do you think that North Carolina perceives our lodge? I mean, Sophia. I mean, do you think that some guys just look at it and say, "Oh man, there's a bunch of elitists. They've got the Grand Line in Sophia. Yeah. Look, the Grand Master is a member. He attends. I mean, these guys are just. I mean, this is just they think they're above everything."
They don't say it to me, but
they hadn't said it to me either.
but I'm sure I'm sure we probably get some of that. But I tell you, the thing that changes it though is when they come see it. You can look at it from afar, and you can cast stones at whatever ideas you think that we've got going on that just aren't for you. Which all we ask is let us do our thing and you do your thing. If you want to do your masonry, your own way, then have at it. But when they come see it, anybody that comes to see it just goes away saying, "Oh man, that's just awesome."
The other night at the district meeting, after we were over and we went downstairs, all the Shriners were there.
Yeah.
And I'll be the first to admit, at all the things that I'm involved in and you've got me in Freemasonry, I don't know a lot about the Shriners. But I know there was a large number of Shriners at that meeting. And I just remember them coming up to us because they knew that we were in officer dress. They could tell. I mean, they were blown away. I mean, they just kept going on and on about, wow, just dumbfounded about how it was all ran, the whole meeting all together. And all they kept saying is, we're coming back, we're going to tell our friends we're coming back, which that gave me a great feeling. I mean, yeah, I know it's got to give you a great feeling. I mean,
yeah, those guys looked sharp too, didn't they?
They did. I love their suits,
man. They had all these matching suits. Sean, you weren't there, but they were wearing, like, if I remember right, gray slacks and like blue blazers and matching tires. And man, they look sharp as a tack. That I don't know much about the shrine either. I'm not a Shriner either, but I understand that, like, the grand potentate, and all the Shriners are going to be mad at me because I don't know what all their people are called, but they had this guy that's like the head of Shriners in North Carolina, and that crowd that was with him, a lot of them is something called a divan. Yeah, the Shriners are really going to be mad at me because I don't know what all that is. But they're like,
off this.
I'm sure we are. but they're like his leadership group, if I understand right. And man, they turned out looking really, really sharp.
They did look sharp.
Grandmaster invited their guy to come sit in the east, and the Shrine's a crowd that nationally, over the last 4 or 5 years, they've had a lot of trouble with the Blue Lodges in the various states. I don't know how much you keep up with this, and I don't keep up with it a whole lot. But some of the Blue Lodges in the Shrine, and I know in Arkansas and maybe Michigan, been in a spat. And I don't even know enough about what it was all about, but it got pretty ugly in some places. And every now and then you hear a rumor about the Shrine maybe going to break off and make it so that you don't have to be a Mason to be a Shriner. I hope that never comes to that. The Shriners probably know more about it than I do, but I know that the other night in Salisbury there was nothing but love and appreciation in the room. So
and apparently that was the first time I'd ever been to a meeting where so many of them were in attendance.
Yeah,
and I hate to say them as in you're a whole nother group or faction, but I'll be the first. Here me and Brother Ben are sitting here trying to pound into this podcast about bringing new forms of delivery to Masons in North Carolina, and here I am ill-equipped to even talk about one of our wings of Freemasonry. So I promise I'll brush up on.
Here's
on
what you're going to do. Here's what you need to do, Riley. We probably need one representative from this podcast to go join the Shrine, so then you can be our ambassador to them.
I'll see what I can do.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
Can I get a clown car like Brother Stimson?
Yeah, yes, sir. They'll hook you right up with a clown car. Absolutely, they will.
Or a clown style motorcycle. That'd probably be better.
When we went to the children's home to see their parade, though, man, some of those things are really cool. Some of them have like golf carts and got like these alligators, and their mouth opens and closes, and they're like steam shooting out the top of them. And Chris Hall, Chris is the Shriner, I guess, that I know best. Good dude, and he's in some crowd, and they wear like these. Matter of fact, I put a picture of them today on our Facebook page, on 357 Productions our Facebook page. They got like these yellow pants and these green jackets, and they're wearing their little whatever they call those hats that they wear, and they're like carrying flags, some kind of honor guard. It's just they really know how to turn out.
Speaking of that, I was actually at the Peach Festival this summer, and for those of you guys who don't know what that is, Candor, close to where we're from, they have the Candor. It's the North Carolina Peach Festival. It's a huge parade celebrating peaches. It's a lot of fun. But anyway, this group comes through in this stretched white limo. Stretched white. And all these guys are dressed like the Blues Brothers. They're all identical. Black suits, black sunglasses. And to come to find out, they're Shriners.
Awesome.
But they were getting out. I guarantee it's like 50 guys got out of this stretched limo. They kept coming. Like a clown car. But they were all dressed like that. I thought it was pretty cool. I'd never seen that before. And I don't even know where they were from or anything. So if you guys have any information on them, shoot us an email. But I thought that was the coolest thing that they came out and they did that. But they walked around the limo. They handed out all kinds of information. It was really cool.
It's good stuff. That's good stuff. All right. Well, I guess let's move on from the Shriners.
Here we go.
April. I told you that the Allegory and Symbolism lecture is going to be at Mount Hermon that same day. This is Easter weekend. I do not have that date, but I think it's like the 4th, if I remember right. So I know this is Easter weekend, but a lot of you will be off and you'll be looking to go on vacation anyway. We're going to have Allegory and Symbolism lecture at Mount Hermon, the last one, from 10 until 2. And then after that, we're going to have Wilkerson College Lodge. Wilkerson College Lodge meets at 4. And I want to talk about Wilkerson College Lodge just a little bit. Lost my audio there. Can you hear me now, Sean? All right. Wilkerson College Lodge, there's a lot of confusion among the brothers, I think, between the college and the lodge. You get that question a lot?
I do.
Yeah, everywhere I go, everybody doesn't understand the difference.
What's the difference?
What's the difference? So we've already talked about the college. The college, School for Deacons, meets 3 separate weekends in 3 different cities, management training for future masters, right? The lodge is a lodge just like any other lodge. You can come. We have members. Members have dues cards. We have officers. I mean, it's a lodge. It's a Blue Lodge. Except that a couple of weird things about this lodge. Anybody can come visit. You do not have to be a member to visit. Anybody can be a member. You do not have to be a graduate of Wilkerson College or a staff member to join. Anybody can join. But by and large, they're all either staff members. The members are all either staff members or graduates of the college. So it's kind of like the alumnus association of the college.
Well, it's an easy way to remember it is you got Wilkerson College, which I guess we should explain it. Wilkerson College is the educational portion of it.
Yeah.
If you just say Wilkerson College, and then of course Wilkerson College Lodge is the traveling lodge.
That's right. So we meet 6 times a year. And we meet all over the state. So we'll meet, this year we're meeting in Jacksonville one time. We meet in Asheville one time. We're going to meet, we already met in Salisbury. So we just travel around to different locations. And we also budget for 2 national level speakers a year. And in the past, we've been bringing them in like spring and fall. And so when we're going to have a national level speaker come in, we try to go to a bigger city. We try to have a man on the ground, and he's been drumming up business for us to try and get guys to come. But we were bringing in these fabulous, fabulous authors and Masonic bigwigs. And we just weren't getting as many people as we thought at some of the meetings. So we've kind of changed our entire model this year. And this year, we're going to put all of our money into this one big event. And it's going to be a really big event. It's the Wilkerson College Lodge Symposium is going to be at the Greensboro Temple. And this thing is going to be in June. It's June 13th. I don't have it written down, but it's June 13th. This is Saturday, and we have 3 big events going on that day, and they're going to run simultaneously, so you can go to any of the 3. We're going to have 2 national level speakers come in, and one is our buddy Rob Hurd. Worshipful Brother Rob Hurd is going to talk on allegory and symbolism. He's written a book called The Initiatic Experience. He's the owner and editor of Living Stones magazine. He's a real expert on allegory and symbolism. He's our buddy, and he's a great guy, and he's a great speaker.
He's a Masonic rock star.
Rock star.
That is him, Masonic rock star. That's him.
Masonic rock star. That's right. Rob Hurd, Masonic rock star. Anyway, he's a great lecturer, and you don't want to miss him. So the deal is, we're going to start this thing at like probably 9 o'clock in the morning. We'll do a lecture, take some questions, take a break, do a lecture, go to lunch, some more lecture. We're going to fill in around him with some local talent talking about allegory and symbolism. I'm not going to be talking about it because I'm already talking about it halfway across. Everybody get tired of listening to me talk about it. Plus, there are guys that do it probably better than me, and he's certainly one of them. So you can come if you're remotely interested in allegory and symbolism and understanding the deeper meanings of the craft, and what the degrees really mean, and where it all came from, and what's it really all about. This is your opportunity. At the same time that he's talking, there'll be another path on Masonic history. So we got a guy named Stephen Bullock, not a Mason, but he wrote a book called Revolutionary Brotherhood. So he isn't just your run-of-the-mill historian like, me, like a guy that likes to read some books about history. He's a professor of a professor of history. So he's a doctor of history. Very famous book.
Well, that'd be cool to get his point of view. He's not a Mason. It'd be neat to see what he says.
Absolutely. So he's going to talk about Freemasonry in colonial times and how it helped shape our country. Many of the founding fathers were Freemasons. He fleshes that out and talks about how the whole psychology of Freemasonry worked its way into our country, the founding of our country. We're going to give him 2 hours, and he'll be talking at the same time Rob is. And then when he gets done, we're going to fill in around him with some local talent. So the guy that's talking behind Rob about allegory and symbolism is Mike Daniels. The guys that are going to talk behind Stephen Bullock is Jonathan Underwood, the undersecretary. What was that he put on his Facebook page the other day? The Assistant Grand.
That's what it's called, Assistant Grand. Jonathan.
I thought we should have gone with undersecretary. Jonathan. Undersecretary, the Assistant Grand
and I'm
Secretary.
glad you said Mike Daniels. I had it on the tip of my tongue. That's what I was thinking. I thought, I knew Ben was going to say Mike Daniels.
Yeah, yes, Mike.
Yeah, he's
Mike's
awesome too.
He's
awesome.
a wonderful speaker, wonderful lecturer. So anyway, on the history side, kind of bookending Bullock is going to be Jonathan Underwood, who we always give him a hard time, and we can because he's our buddy. But he has a degree in history. He's a historian by trade. Actually, I think his degree may be in museum something.
You did come from the museum in Stanley County.
Yeah.
Not originally, but
not sure what his degree's in, but he's a great
job
historian.
title.
Jonathan, tell me what your degree's in. Send me an email. I'm sure he will. But anyway, he's going to talk about Freemasonry in colonial times in North Carolina. And another guy that's going to also help book in with Jonathan, talking about Freemasonry in North Carolina in colonial times and the founding of our state, is Ben Sorensen. Ben Sorensen is a brother from Wilmington. I believe he's St. John's number 1. And he did a program for Wilkerson College, and he's fabulous. And he's some sort of assistant professor at maybe at Cape Fear.
I hadn't seen him yet. I look forward to seeing him then.
All right, Sean, note for the record, we're going to have a little bio sheets on all these guys because I'm trying to do this from memory, and I'm sure I've messed up every one.
Oh, yeah, we're going to get really good hate mail.
Yeah, but anyway, Ben Sorensen, I've heard both Ben and Jonathan lecture, and they're both really good. So first we're going to talk about Freemasonry in colonial times on a national level, and there'll be a couple hours talking about it on a state level. So you can go to either path that you want to go, the allegory and symbolism path or the history path, or you can bop back and forth between the two if you want. At the same time all that's going on, we're going to have a ritual competition. That's going to be going on the Blue Lodge floor, and everybody is really even more jacked up about this than I thought they were going to be.
No, who's going to be handling that portion of it?
Ray Hall and Tom Dolinger and Kevin Combs are kind of looking after it. Ray has been a certified lecturer for like 8 billion years. Just can't say enough good things about Ray and what he knows. He's forgotten more about Masonry and especially ritual than I'll ever know. But he's doing it along with Tom. Tom Dolinger is on the board of custodians. Really sharp dude, and they're really excited about this. They think that we're going to have great participation. Tom was already talking about the idea that we're going to have to limit this thing to 16 teams because they just don't have so many hours to get them in. So he's already talking about next year maybe having some sort of district semifinal competition, so you got to qualify to come to the state. They've broken this thing down into 2 categories. There's and I can't remember exactly what they call them. There's a flyer for both the symposium as a whole, and specifically there's a flyer for the ritual competition. The categories are, one is, I can't remember what they call it, but it's where you bring your master, your wardens, and your deacons. They'll give you a secretary and a Tyler and all, because it's kind of going to be hard to get your entire lodge to come to something like this. But you got to bring your principal players, right?
Especially your in-house team.
Your in-house team. And then the other category that they're going to have, the other division, is like a ringer team. You can bring anybody you want. You can get the entire board of custodians. You can get all the past grand masters. You can get the best ritualists you know across the state and put together a team that's just going to be all-stars.
So basically we're talking about fantasy football for for Masonry.
Absolutely. So there's this trophy. So the winner of each path is going to get a trophy, and they're pretty nice, nice little trophies, and the winner can take it home to their lodge and they can display it and it's theirs forever. The winner of the home team, the organic team, the team that's got their members, there's this great big Stanley Cup looking trophy, and it's going to stay at the Grand Lodge, but it's got like the Stanley Cup, it's got down here at the bottom where you put Blackmer 127.
So it's going to be a rotating trophy.
Rotating. So it stays at the Grand Lodge, but the Grand Master will present it to the winning team at the annual communication, and then it goes back and it's going to be displayed at the Grand Lodge in this, right there where everybody can see it. So
we're going to have a Masonic Super Bowl.
Yes. Yeah, I didn't think about that. The fantasy football outlook, though. We might could find some way to bet on this thing.
We could have brackets.
We could have brackets. We could have, you could draft team members. We could have a fantasy ritual competition draft party.
I'm in. We could shoot live podcast live, and we could shoot this live on our YouTube channel.
Well, we can't shoot the ritual competition itself, but we could do the lead up to it.
Yeah.
We will be shooting the guest speakers, the lecturers and stuff. We'll certainly be taping that. Bullocks, of course, Stephen Bullocks will not be tiled because he's not even a Mason. Rob's might be. Probably what they'll do, what I see them do a lot of times in situations like that is they'll check dues cards, but they're not actually tiled so that he can know that he's talking to Masons. But we'll tape everything that we can that day.
Yeah, we'll just turn it into a pay-per-view for Masons only. Yeah, we'll figure out a way to do it.
All right, we're going to work on this. We're going to work on this fantasy ritual team thing. We'll come up with some way to do that. If we can find a way to get some notoriety out of that, then we will. If we can get some of the credit for it, we're going to do that somehow.
Absolutely. Why not?
Why not?
We're rock stars.
Well, not like Rob Hurd rock star. But
no, we're not in that category.
Let's see. 17th and 18th, Wilkerson College final session, April 17th and 18th, on my birthday. We're going to have the final session of Wilkerson College. Again, you can't come if you're not in the college, but I just want to rub it into everybody. Actually, I just want everybody to kind of know about it. That's the one where we'll be having that at Grand Lodge Building. The actual ceremony, they have a graduation ceremony, and that'll be at the local hotel. We'll graduate them up on the 18th. How'd your graduation go, Riley? Tell them the story about your graduation.
It was great. It was a great evening. We had a great graduation, great presentation. The wives, of course, get to come. You have a great dinner. And then the next morning, I found out that our vehicle was broken into right in the front of the hotel, so it was awesome. So it was I'll never forget that weekend. It was very special to me, insurance claims and all. But it was awesome. It was very touching.
Seems like something happens every year at the final session. Last year, I walked into the hotel lobby, and we had gotten there. Me and Sean rode our motorcycles up there, didn't we, Sean? And parked right out front, as Larry Thompson taught us. Larry Thompson taught us that if you ride motorcycles, normal parking rules do not apply to you.
They do not.
You just park it anywhere. So anyway, we parked out front, walked in, and there was Toby Fitch sitting there. And they call him, I don't know if you know this, the Prince Hall guys call Toby, he's unlike our guys that rotate every year. You know, the Grandmaster goes out and a new guy steps up. It's a progressive line. They don't have that in the Prince Hall. They keep the same guy year after year. So Toby's been the Grandmaster of the Prince Hall, most worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of North Carolina. I think that's right, for a long time. And they call him Grand. That's what everybody calls him. So I walked in, I'm like, Grand. He's like, hey, he didn't know my name. He kind of knows me to see me, but he doesn't actually know my name. He's like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, great. And so they were having some kind of national York Rite thing. So they had all these Grand Masters from all these different states that were at this thing. They just happened to be at the same hotel as us. We didn't know it. So we were having Wilkerson College. So I said, hey, would you come in and talk to our students at some point this weekend? He's like, yeah, sure. So he did. He came in and he brought the Grand Master from Alabama and the Deputy Grand Master from California. And
I mean, I'd love to see him do a presentation.
Oh man,
I think he'd be a great speaker for us to have somewhere.
I'm gonna get him at Sophia somehow. The problem is that he lives in Greenville. Where's he live? Somewhere down that way. Wilson. He lives in Wilson, and of course we're in Salisbury, so he's about gonna have to spend the night. I mean, he can't hardly drive home after that. So, but I'm gonna find a way to get him somewhere.
Yeah, we got to.
Maybe we get him next year for the symposium.
That'd be awesome.
One way or another, we're going to make that happen because he is a fabulous speaker. Anyway, the final session, that's 17th and 18th. Scottish Rite reunion is coming up. Let me talk about a couple of things with Scottish Rite. So we're all in the Greensboro Valley, but since we're kind of doing this statewide, I'll just talk about these things in general instead of ours specifically. Everybody has the ceremony of remembrance and coming up. They have the Mystic Banquet, the extinguishing and relighting of the lights teams.
And do you know the date for that? For ours?
Ours is the 8th, which that's a Wednesday night. That's a stated communication. But all the valleys will be having this. All the valleys do it a little bit different. I know when Chris Wright we were getting ready to put ours together, he went down to Wilmington and watched them do theirs, and he said it was just completely different than what we do, but still cool. So if you get a chance to go to that, if you're a Scottish Rite Mason, it's an open ritual. One of the very few things that we do open in Scottish Rite. And I don't know about everybody else's, but ours is really, really special. I mean, it's one of the. It's not quite Sophia special, but it's doggone close. I mean, it's really done up right in Greensboro. It's a very moving, profound experience. So if you get a chance to go to that, please go to Your Valley's Ceremony of Remembrance. The other thing is everybody's getting ready for their spring reunions. If you're not and the York Rite also will be getting ready for their spring reunions. Greensboro's Scottish Rite spring reunion is going to be the 24th and 25th of April. You'll have to check with your other valleys to check on them, but Scottish Rite, at least in Greensboro, is really in ascension right now. We're in a really good place. Gene Cobb is he's our PR, our personal representative, and he is I can't say enough good things about Gene and what he does, and he's changed the entire atmosphere up there since I've been involved in Scottish Rite, and everybody's really excited about it. So whatever valley you're close to, though, if you hadn't been to Scottish Rite in a while, I'm sure they all could use some help. Go get active in that. I really love Scottish. York Rite also, I'm not as active in York. I'm a member. I don't go as much as I should, but those degrees are beautiful, and they'll be coming up. So if you're a brother listening to the show, you hadn't done Scottish or York yet, quit coming up with excuses not to do it and go do one of the two. Just talk to any Scottish or York Rite member. I'm sure they'll be glad to hook you up. Right?
Like Brother Ben saying, I mean, there's a part for everybody. There's something for everybody to do, especially at the reunion. So I mean, that's one thing. When we went for our reunion, I couldn't believe all the parts behind the scene to pull this thing off. I mean, there's tons of guys everywhere doing all kinds of stuff. So if you're looking for something to do and you want to be a part of it, they've got something for you to do. Just contact your valley and let them put you to work.
You know, it seems like young guys a lot of times, whether it's Blue Lodge or Scottish or York or anything, feel like because they're kind of the new guy and there's a guy that's been doing some specific part for 20 years that he he owns that part and he doesn't want to give it up. So they don't want to ask to take on something because they feel like they're taking it away from an old guy. And I'm not quite an old guy yet, but I guarantee you that the old guys are looking for some young guys to be their understudies and take it on. So all you got to do is ask, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I was really impressed. Actually, when Brother Sean and I finished our reunion at the end, Right Worshipful Brother Gene Cobb pulled us to the side and said, "Hey guys, I mean, you guys seem like you got it going on. I want to be on any team you guys want to be on. You know, I'll come out of it and I'll help you guys do any section you want to do." I mean, I was just really impressed. I know Brother Sean was too. I mean, I was just taken back. You know, I'll let you do whatever you want to do. I mean, here's the man that runs the show saying, "Hey, I'll let you do whatever you want to do." I thought that was pretty cool. So
I like to do a lot more than I do, but I don't know. Scottish is in a good place though. Sophia meets again on April 29th. That'll be back to our normal even months. Gilbert Bailey's going to do, Gilbert Bailey? He's going to do a program for us.
I don't know him.
Gilbert Bailey's a dude from Charlotte. He's on the Board of Custodians, and he is awesome with a capital. Oh, man, I just love Gilbert. Certified lecturer, really good, deep-thinking dude, snappy dresser. I love him. And then we get into May, and I don't have as much on the calendar for May, but a couple things I wanted to point out. Sophia's going to have a national-level speaker come in on May the 2nd. That's a Saturday. His name is Ryan Flynn. He's a Masonic artist. He's from New Hampshire. He is fabulous. Fabulous. Dude went to
Ryan
Florence.
Flynn's awesome.
Dude went to Florence to learn how to be an artist.
I say awesome a lot. But if you have not seen Ryan Flynn's artwork, his drawings, anything that he does, go to his website or his Facebook page. It will blow your mind.
Yeah, come see him in person on the 2nd of May. We'll tile that day about 2 o'clock. We'll give him a couple of hours to talk. It'll take us a little while to tear down, then we'll go to a harmony. Anybody that wants to come join us is welcome to. If you want to go to the harmony, you're going to need to get word to us pretty early, though. We sell tickets to those things, and we got a limited number that we can take. Ryan, I'm sure, will have some of his stuff to sell or at least to display. Cannot tell you what an opportunity this is, because how many Masonic artists are there in America?
Not a lot.
Not a lot.
And I'm telling you, again, for everybody watching the show, this is a monumental opportunity to be able to talk to Ryan Flynn, pick his brain, see how his whole process of what he's doing, spend the evening with him, go to dinner with him. I mean, this is, of course, as you can probably tell, Brother Ben and I are huge fans.
Huge fans. So excited.
Yes, I mean it's awesome. And again, I know I say it a lot, but please take the time, come out, enjoy it, and enjoy Ryan Flynn.
Good stuff, man. May 16th is Celebrating the Craft. That's a Scottish Rite thing where they have this like it's like a podcast. It's like a live podcast that they do from the House of the Temple. Our valley, Greensboro Valley, has people get folks together in their homes. So here at the Tractor Shed, we'll be having a group of Scottish Rite Masons come, and we'll put that thing up on the big screen. We'll project it up. We're going to eat some good food and talk about some Scottish Rite stuff. And the last thing I had, this has absolutely nothing to do with Masonry whatsoever. I just like it. May the 20th through the 24th, or the 24th actually, is Rolling Thunder in Washington, D.C. Not Masonic. It's a group of it's a motorcycle ride that goes down through the nation's capital, and it honors veterans. Sean and I are going to go. We're actually going to Gettysburg for a couple days before that, and then we're going to go stay in D.C., and we're either going to ride in the ride or at least watch it. We'll be bringing you a lot of video from that. So if you like motorcycles, be sure and stay tuned for at least that. But I want to talk just a little bit, Riley, if it's all right with you, about the North Carolina Mason, and talk about just a few of the things in here. We're going to speed through this pretty quick. We already talked about traditional observance lodges. There's a nice picture of us in there. I guess that's us getting our charter. Did you read this thing about Chrissy Wright?
I did not. I've not had a chance to read it.
It's a shipwreck that happened, I don't know, a long time ago. Anyway, it made me think about it. When I was getting stuff together for the show, it was snowing down here the other night. Apparently this thing happened in a terrible winter storm, and a bunch of guys about died. I thought it was a really good article. I think Rick wrote it. Rick wrote it, and it was just well done, and it was the kind of story that that just brings things to life. I really enjoyed that. The Grandmaster, just wanted to say a word or two about our Grandmaster.
Yeah, we hadn't even talked about his meeting.
Well, I saved it for last. That's why.
Awesome.
He can you hear me, Sean? I keep hitting this thing. I keep knocking it off. I have to have some duct tape on it next time. So he's just starting his district meetings, right? And the first one that he had was at Sophia, and he did that for a couple of reasons. One, it's pretty close to his house, and two, I think we're the home team for him. He's a member of our lodge, and he wanted to talk about some things that are going to kind of shake folks up a little bit. And he knew that just the way that Sophia operated, that we'd be a pretty friendly audience for him. I cannot tell you how excited I am about Doug Caudill being the Grand Master of Masons in North Carolina. He's not only a super good dude, but I think that the things that he's bringing to the table in his district meetings are things that really need to be said. And it would be so easy when you're the Grand Master and you've got 43,000 eyes on you, or however many of us there are, to play it safe.
Keep it between the lines.
Yeah, man. Just don't mess anything up. Just don't wreck the ship, Just get through this year.
Right. He's definitely not taking that approach.
He is not taking that approach. And, he's not doing that because of anything that he wants to be remembered for. He doesn't want to be famous. He doesn't want to make anybody mad. He just honestly believes that our masonry deserves more than we're giving it. That doesn't mean every man, but he believes that our buildings deserve more, to be better looking than they are. And he believes that our ritual deserves for people to practice it better than they do. And he believes that our fundraising could be better than it is. And, he said in that meeting, he said that we're doing okay. But okay is not good enough. Freemasonry.
Okay is not going to keep the doors open.
Freemasonry is not about getting by, doing just as little as we can and keeping it between the ditches. We're supposed to excel. It teaches us as men to be better men, right? And so if you're going to be try to be better than yourself, if you're gonna try to improve yourself, well, why are we not doing that with a craft? as a whole. I mean, if you're improving
you can't settle
yourself.
for mediocrity.
Yeah. So man, I really love his message. So he's only had like 2 of these. I know we got snowed out at Asheboro the other day. So he's got plenty of them still to come. If you're listening to this podcast and you were on the fence as to whether you were going to go to a district meeting or not, I'm telling you to go.
It's worth your time.
You want to hear it.
We're not personal cheerleaders for our Grand Master.
I am.
Well, we are to a point, but that's not the reason we do the podcast. Is
That's right.
to push his agenda by any means, because we're probably going to tick somebody off before it's over with. But at some point in time, there comes a moment when everybody needs a kick in the pants, and Freemasonry in North Carolina needs a kick in the pants.
Amen.
And he's delivering it right now. He's bringing the boot right now. So
With love.
With love. You're
Tough
exactly
love.
right.
You're giving us
tough
some
love. Tough love. So Brother Ben's right. And again, we're big fans of our Grand Master. But, hey, this is something that every Mason in North Carolina's got to hear. You got to take time just to go out to one of those meetings. We've had really good Grand Masters over time. I think maybe we could try to do away with progressive line now that we got Brother Doug in and see if we can. I love them. I love all the Grand Line guys, and we're all friends with them, and I think the world of them. But I just like the passion, and I think he's on a roll.
I'm so proud of him. I could not be more proud of him.
I agree.
All right, what else you want to talk about?
Well, I'm good, man.
Let's roll it up out of here, baby.
All right. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Masonian. For more information and productions, please visit and like our Facebook page at 357 Productions. Emails may be sent to 357productionsteam@gmail.com. Tell people that you love them, and remember that we meet on the level and part on the square.